wonder if I could begin by asking each of you to briefly introduce yourselves to the committee. Mr. Davies.
My name is David Davis. I'm a Vice President of Philip Morris Europe.
My name is Martin Bolton. I'm the Executive Chairman of British American Tobacco.
Good morning. My name is Peter Wilson. I'm the Chairman of Gallagher Group plc. Until the end of last year, I was the Chairman and the Chief Executive of Gallagher Group plc.
I'm Gareth Davis, Chief Executive of Imperial Tobacco.
My name is Axel Gietz. I'm a Vice President at the corporate headquarters of JT International in Geneva, in Switzerland.
Okay. Can I begin by asking a fairly blunt question, which as a Yorkshireman I can usually get away with, but a number of us were in the States recently and saw some archive material of colleagues of yours from the company, some of which are here today, giving evidence before a US Congress committee hearing on oath. And what subsequently was proved was that the evidence that they'd given was a complete pack of lies. What I would say to you as an opening gambit in a sense is, obviously you're not on oath here today, but what guarantee do we have that the evidence you will give us will not be proved to be of a similar nature to that we saw in the States?
I totally agree. No opening statement from me. I will answer your questions truthfully and to the best of my knowledge.
But you all understand the concerns the committee have got over what happened in the States, and clearly what's happening in the States currently is of direct relevance to what we're doing in this country. Can I ask a second general question? Do you, as an industry, in respect of the work you do in your own companies, accept that you've got a legal duty to produce as safe a product as you reasonably can? And if so, do you believe you're actually doing this?
To my knowledge, there's no scientific definition of a safe cigarette, so my answer to that question is, yes, I agree, there is no safe cigarette.
There's no safe cigarette, so right.
However, we are aware, to come back to your previous question, that we do produce and market a very controversial product that raises serious health concerns, and that therefore we do everything we can to do this as responsibly as possible. And this is, I think, an important point. What we do in terms of product development, and we went into this in our submission too, with our new technology products such as IQ. What we do in terms of product development is much more important than anything we say. Public health authorities have decided that smoking causes these diseases. It's not for us to dispute or debate that. There are other contributing factors maybe to these diseases, so you would probably need to eliminate other lifestyle choices in order to reduce the number further.
Yes, but the straightforward question is, if we eliminated smoking, would we reduce the number of premature deaths?
A number, but I cannot specify.
I'm not asking specific, just the number would go down.
Based on the interpretation of the evidence available by the health authorities, yes.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Can I ask first, when did your companies reach their current public stance on the risks of smoking?
Yeah, the research work and development work, and the word development in this context I think is more important, certainly began around the time that my colleagues have...
The research work began rather than you actually discovered?
Within our company. I think what is important to explain is the role that the scientists in the R&D department of, say, our company have. They do not do the medical research. Mm-hmm. They monitor the medical research. They monitor what the scientific community comes up with, as it were, and then review it and try to translate it into responsible product development work. And this is certainly what they've done ever since that point in time that I think we jointly can agree on.
Right. So by and large, it would be fair to say that from the early, mid-50s, your companies knew that there were risks and dangers to health related to smoking.
But if I may, Mr. An important point is our scientists at no point knew anything that nobody else knew.
Fine.
It's not that they had privileged knowledge. It was the other way around, really. They monitored what others developed.
Okay.
Gentlemen, a sort of generic question. There is a consensus that smoking can cause illness and death in terms that you've already been asked about. Can I ask each of you in turn, does your company attach itself to that consensus?
We are in in no position, nor of the mind, to dispute or debate with the public health authorities, who are very well qualified to interpret the scientific evidence available. But again, what we do is more important than what we say, i.e., we do try to translate that into a responsible development of products addressing this issue.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, I would like to answer your previous question, which never got around to.
Yes, sure. Yes, by all means.
Because it ties in with this, and I think it's very important. I would like to have the opportunity to answer that question. My company, and when I say my company in connection with research and development and health-related issues, I speak of R.J. Reynolds in the United States. That was our sister company until May 12th, and we were sold to the Japanese. But for the terms of this inquiry, I think the decades you're trying to cover, I think May 12th, 1999 is a fair date. So my company, R.J. Reynolds, from the 50s onward, as this process evolved, took this work very seriously in trying to reduce the risk as much as possible. As much as possible means to see what is scientifically sensible, or viewed as scientifically sensible at that point in time, what is technically feasible from a cigarette engineering point of view, and third, last but not least, what meets with consumer acceptance. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. From a public health point of view...
from your point of view.
Well, I mean, we are in the business of selling cigarettes. I'm not disputing that. But from the public health point of view, too, with that quote that was just given previously by one of my colleagues, and we approached it always in sync with the scientific community, first of all with the silver bullet approach that one of my colleagues has already quoted, which turned out to be very difficult, very problematic, and overall not too successful because the targets kept moving. You had a certain constituent, and we're speaking of 4,000 plus constituents of tobacco smoke, of which my company, by the way, our scientists identified over half, which we're very proud of over these years. So if you seem to have found the one, and you try to reduce or eliminate that, very often, as I say, the target moved and another compound came up. Parallel to that was the general reduction approach that Mr. Wilson addressed, meaning reducing tar, and with it nicotine, because they occur in a natural ratio of 1 to 12, 1 to 13 in tobacco. This always following the advice given by the scientific and medical communities. And again, it seemed and seems to this day to make a lot of sense that to lower tar must be a good thing. And the DG5 of the European Union Commission still believes this, otherwise in the latest proposal they wouldn't have introduced yet another lowering of the ceiling. Going beyond that, and I see with great interest that you've been so impressed with the product that Philip Morris showed to you in the United States. Our scientists have gone beyond that and have indeed produced or developed what we call new technology products that, if you like, are radical or extreme in the sense that they no longer burn the tobacco but basically heat it, which obviously immensely changes the constitution of the smoke. The smoke is steam rather than smoke. And we have test marketed these, and these projects going back to the 80s have cost us almost $2 billion if you add all the development costs up, and we have test marketed it. And this is a headline from the Sunday Telegraph of May 1996, when we test marketed our product High Q in Germany, and it met with great public interest in the media too in this country, and I'm happy to give you more details on this, because obviously this is an approach where, again, everybody agrees, since the smoke is so different, there are positive health implications here. The problem was that the parameters under which we operate and market and inform about our products did not allow us, and to this day do not allow us, to talk about these potential health benefits. And therefore, to get the consumer to switch to this very different type of cigarette, which from a public health point of view might be a good thing, is very difficult to initiate.
I want to go into too much detail on modification, because I think we're looking at that in the next session, and it's an area like I diverted Simon earlier on, if you don't mind.